If there was no other policies that I agreed with, I would vote for Trump because he says drill, baby, drill.
Can I tell you something? We are drilling more. We are taking more oil and natural gas out of the United States now than we ever have in our history.
Trump is for drilling. He always says drill, baby, drill. He wants to be America energy dominant. And I've said that for years. The United States should be completely self-sufficient.
But under the Biden administration, we're taking more gas out of the ground than ever in our history, right?
I don't know.
That is.
So the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm. When you try to sell a product, okay, U.S. soybeans leaving New Orleans without the tariff to China are cheaper than Brazilian soybeans at the current market. But when you put the tariff on top of them, Brazilian beans are cheaper.
I just would like to see somebody help us get our markets back. We need our exports, and we just need to be paid for what we do. And that's not happening. And we're in real trouble.
Look, on the one hand, it sucks to see farmers struggling in the way that they are and doing the overall rounds of business and the rising costs. But at the same time, we have to be brutally honest here and say, you voted for this. This is exactly what Trump wanted to do, and he laid this out to you completely 100% in advance before you went to the polls. Now, they didn't reveal who they voted for, nor was it asked, but I am willing to bet that a town hall filled with Arkansas farmers is probably not a town hall filled with Kamala Harris voters. This is the result of Trump's unilateral tariffs and his isolationist philosophy when it comes to economics. It straight up doesn't work, and it doesn't bring jobs back. There is no reason we should be retaliating against our own allies instead of strengthening the relationship we have with them if we want to combat our adversaries like China. I also kind of think it's rich to see these type of people, these Trump voters, asking for government handouts because of the rising costs to do business in farming. Well, they are the same people who are saying that these college kids who are asking for student loan forgiveness are asking for government handouts. You're doing the same thing because of rising costs, and it's a burden. All of a sudden, this energy of no government handouts is completely faded away when you are affected. And remember, this was laid out to you 100% in advance before Trump got elected. He told you he was going to do this, and you still voted.
We were there as workers covered the emergency room signs at Midcoast Medical Center in Trinity, Texas. The sight of medical workers leaving for the last time, signaling this is one of the latest rural hospitals to shut its doors.
I think how sad it is.
Marjorie Polvino runs the hospital board.
It has a huge impact on the committee. We will lose lives. 400 people a month come here.
In the East Texas piney woods, Midcoast was more than a building. It was a lifeline where babies were born and where the heart of Kathy Courtney's 90-year-old husband was restarted, saving his life.
How many times have you used this facility recently?
I'd say about 6 times in the last 14 months.
The closure, hospital officials tell us, was driven by the same factors that have closed other rural hospitals. Low reimbursement rates from elderly patients' Medicare and Medicaid coverage, which made up most of the hospital's budget. Hospitals in urban areas get significantly more reimbursement from their patients who have private insurance, which tends to pay more. Republican proposed cuts to Medicaid could leave more than 8.5 million people uninsured and force even more rural hospitals to close. A new report finds almost 750 rural hospitals are at risk of closing. Courtney's husband is now home and doing well, but the 87-year-old isn't sure she could drive that far if she or her husband of 65 years had another emergency.
When your husband had a heart attack recently, how long did it take you all to get here?
Probably 10 minutes, 15.
And if you had to go to the next closest hospital, how long would that have taken?
Over a half an hour.
Is that the difference between perhaps life and death?
I would say it is.
So, Janet, when these rural hospitals close and folks end up having to drive a long way, what's the overall impact on their health as a result?
They often give up on preventative care, things like regular checkups, and that can lead to the delayed, diagnosis of something like a serious illness like cancer
What about the effect of these hospitals closing on the community, Janet?
It is beyond the hospital. These hospital workers shopped in the stores, they ate in the restaurants. If they move to a new area for a new job, that affects the real estate market, the school district, property taxes. These rural hospitals are more than health care. They really are the heartbeat.
You got that right. Hey, beautiful people, welcome to my channel. Thank you for stopping by. So credit goes to the creators in these videos, guys. When MAGA voters went to the polls, they thought that they were making a choice for strength. They thought they were making a better future for themselves because, I mean, the promises sounded good, it sounded bold, the slogans, the energy that came with the campaign, everything was looking promising. But many of them did not realize that the policies they supported were stacked against their own needs. The jobs that they thought would return did not show up. The healthcare they thought would improve got harder to reach. And all the financial reliefs that they thought and hoped would come never came. And now reality is knocking on the door. The bills are higher, the opportunities are few, there is no job, grocery prices are higher, things are not getting any better, and all the safety nets that they depended upon are now weaker, and they are living in the consequences of their own decisions because the very system that they cheered for has turned against them. Now they are effing out because they effed around. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments because this is really, really sad.
So here's what Fox News doesn't want you to know. So companies in the United States are taking a huge hit. Let's just focus on BlackRock, okay? The big American finance giant. They just lost $17 billion. Why did they lose $17 billion? Because a giant Dutch pension fund withdrew their investment in BlackRock. Why? Why did they do that? Because BlackRock de-emphasized climate and social justice initiatives to cater to Trump's agenda. And then this pissed off the Trump administration. Morgan Stanley, another financial giant, just undertook a huge study. They pulled a shit ton of individual investors in U.S. companies, and 80% of them said that they want companies like BlackRock and any other companies they choose to invest in to have climate change initiatives. They believe climate change is real. They're upset at all these companies capitulating to this dumbass administration. They believe in climate change. 80% of them. So they're putting their own pressure on companies, withdrawing money, investing elsewhere in companies that have the balls to stand up to this administration. Trump, their administration is not happy. And then here's a big one. Trump is so pissed off, he even posted about it. A Norway wealth fund worth $2 trillion just sold their stake in Caterpillar, U.S. equipment manufacturer Caterpillar. Yep. Just sold all of their shares. Why? Because Israel purchases Caterpillar equipment to undertake the big G word. Yeah, Norway divested in a bunch of Israel banks and investments as well for the same reason. Meanwhile, other investors are having this conversation across the board. Fox News is not letting you know about this. They have seen a titanic shift of other countries investing in American markets, meaning they're not. They're pulling out. They're not investing in American companies. The U.S. exceptionalism has been single-handedly destroyed by this administration, and other, especially dictator countries are more than happy to step in and fill the gap, and they are. And these investors, U.S. investors, are saying it's not going to return because European stocks, Hong Kong stocks, all these stocks are soaring and they love it. And now everybody's buying in to other countries' investments and they're completely bypassing the United States. And the final message that investors are passing around to each other is we have no one who's going to help us. We have to save ourselves. That's a lot of winning.
These rural towns, mostly in red states, are really about to be in the find out. First, let me tell you what the Trump administration did with this big, beautiful bill that they think is pretty slick. You see, most of these things with Medicaid cuts aren't going to go into effect until 3.5 years down the line. When is that? When Donald Trump is no longer president. You see, he doesn't want to be able to take credit. He doesn't want anyone to blame him for hospitals closing and people losing their Medicaid. So he delayed everything until he's out of office. And so what he gets to do with this is he gets to say that, oh, all of the things that are happening to these hospitals and with Medicaid and everything, that's all Joe Biden's fault, because my stuff doesn't kick in for 3 years. Then when it were to kick in, if it is to kick in, it's going to get worse. So for the most part, the next president, probably a Democrat, is going to have to come in and overturn all the things that he did just so people don't lose their Medicaid and a lot of these hospitals don't close up. But unfortunately, many of these hospitals are anticipating what's to come, and they're already planning that they're going to have to close up in the next 3 to 7 years. But you have J.D. Vance out there, of course, blaming Joe Biden for everything that's going on right now during the Trump administration, and out here saying that they put in provisions and they put in fail-safes so that rural hospitals won't have to close. Meanwhile, rural hospitals are planning on closing. So let's listen to J.D. Vance with this bullshit talking about they're saving rural hospitals when we know that's not the truth. First of all, let me point out, did you notice when he was saying all the bullshit, all the stuff none of these people have ever heard of, he got no applause at all. So then he decided to go to the Trump card. He went to the card, the ace of spades, which is the racism. He's like, nobody's cheering when I'm talking about healthcare and Medicaid and rural hospitals. You know what? Illegal aliens need to get the hell out of here. We want them out of here. We're getting the Mexican people out of here. And then all of a sudden the racists are like, yeah, because they know that. They understand the racism. That's the part they love the most about Donald Trump. You see, policy means nothing to them. They don't care that their gas prices and grocery prices are still going up. They don't care about that. They care that, one, they think they're owning the libs, and two, the racism. They like the fact that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are as racist as they are. And let me point something else out. He's talking about all the problems during the Biden administration. You know what? If you Google rural hospital closures during Biden's administration, you don't find a bunch of articles about that. But during the Trump administration, you find a bunch of articles about rural hospitals that are anticipating having to close, and it is because of the cuts to Medicaid in the big beautiful bill. That is the only reason. That's the only reason they cite when they talk about their rural hospitals closing. Don't believe me? Here's a video of a news station talking about a hospital closing in their area because of all the cuts to Medicaid. The fact that this administration is trying to claim that this isn't happening when we could easily access the information that proves it's happening right now is fucking crazy. But this is how dumb they know the MAGAs are. And if that's not enough for you, here's another article about 9 rural hospitals in Illinois that are also at risk of being closed, along with a video that talks about how the big beautiful bill is cutting millions of people off of their
They are being cut off Medicaid. Healthcare is not looking promising at all. And many of them are admitting regret. Some of them are saying they feel betrayed. Some of them are saying they feel misled. Many of them are seeing the gaps between promises and outcomes, right? And even with this regret, so many people do not offer sympathy for them. Everybody, in fact, 90% of people are saying you voted for this, guys. They are learning the hard way, because MAGA was supposed to be a movement of hope, right? It's supposed to, or let me say, it was supposed to bring hope to them. But for many of them, it has turned to movements of hardship. Their regrets, pain, sufferings, and crying, guys. And people are saying that their struggles don't end forgiveness, that they have to find out because they effed around. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you in this school of thought, or are you against the motion? I'll see you guys in my next video. Please stay safe. Mental health is important. Ciao.